Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes the complex stories, digs into the source material, and gives you the insights you really need. Today, we're looking at something that, well, if you fly often, it might make you grip your armrest a little tighter. We're talking about a near-miss incident back on July 19th, 2025, near Minot, North Dakota. Just picture it. You're on a regular Delta connection flight, maybe looking out the window, reading, and then, bam, something enormous fills your view. A U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber. Huge, fast, and way too close. That's literally what passengers saw.
Yeah, it wasn't just, a bit close. It was immediate danger. The pilot on that commercial flight, he had to pull off this really aggressive maneuver, drop the plane fast, maybe 1,000 feet down to 500, something like that, just to avoid a collision. You can just imagine the tension in the cabin, and then the pilot's voice afterwards, explaining what happened. Passengers, like this one woman, Monica Green, she clearly remembered seeing that B-52 right outside her window. This wasn't just some minor event. It was like a huge warning sign about our whole air system. Really showed the cracks.
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We've gathered a whole stack of sources here, official reports, pilot accounts, technical stuff, all connected to that Minot incident. Our mission today, to really unpack the sheer complexity of having civilian planes and military jets sharing the same sky. We need to get grips with the systemic weaknesses this near-miss exposed, understand why they're there, and crucially talk about what can actually be done to keep our skies safe. Because this isn't just about one flight, right? It affects pretty much everyone who flies.
Absolutely. So let's drill down into that Minot encounter because it really is a perfect case study. You had this SkyWest plane flying as Delta Connection, an Embraer E-175, cleared for approach into Minot International. Standard stuff. But the critical thing, the absolute key point here is that the Delta pilot got zero heads up from air traffic control about the B-52. Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Zip. He had to react purely based on what he saw out the cockpit window. Split-second decision.
That phrase, sharp and urgent maneuver, it really sticks with you. A sudden turn, a dive, just to get out of the way of this faster military plane.
And what about the pilot talking to passengers afterwards? That takes guts. But seemed to build trust.
It really did. He was incredibly candid.
Yeah, he said, and I think this is a direct quote, "Nobody told us about it." And this is not normal at all. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up, because the nearby Air Force Base does have radar, and nobody said, hey, there's also a B-52 in the pattern.
That honesty was really well received.
Yeah.
And it immediately pointed to some pretty big problems.
For sure. Well, first off, Minot International's tower. It mainly operates using visual control, meaning the controllers rely mostly on literally seeing the planes, maybe hearing them, no radar screen showing everything. Think of it like directing traffic by sight alone. No traffic lights, no map.
Okay, that sounds dated.
It can be, yeah. Second issue, that B-52 was doing a planned flyover for the North Dakota State Fair. And crucially, it looks like it might have had its transponder switched off.
The transponder, that's the thing that makes it show up on radar, right?
Exactly. So transponder off means, to civilian ATC radar, the B-52 was basically invisible. A ghost.
Okay, but wait, you said the Air Force Base nearby does have radar?
That's right. Minot Air Force Base has radar capability.
So, they knew the B-52 was there, but didn't tell the commercial flight?
That seems to be the case. No traffic advisory was issued to the Delta Connection plane, so the information existed, but it didn't bridge the gap to the civilian side. And that right there is a huge, potentially catastrophic gap in communication.
It's not just about one airport maybe needing better radar. It's about different systems not talking to each other when they absolutely have to.
Precisely. And if we zoom out a bit, Minot isn't just a one-off weird event. It highlights this underlying fragility in our air system. A really big piece of this puzzle is the fundamental regulatory divide. There are basically two sets of rules for the same sky.
How does that work?
Well, the main rule book for civil aviation globally is the Chicago Convention, but it explicitly states it does not apply to state aircraft.
And state aircraft means military planes.
Bingo. Military, customs, police aircraft. So military planes often operate under completely different procedures than the ones set by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, which governs the flight you take.
So what does that mean practically? In the air.
It means you've got pilots and controllers on the civil side, and pilots and controllers on the military side who might not be, let's say, adequately familiar with how the other side operates. This obviously leads to potential coordination and communication issues. It's like trying to merge two highways where everyone's driving according to different traffic laws.
It sounds inherently risky.
It can be. And you have to understand why there's a difference. Military aviation has national security priorities. They need flexibility, sometimes secrecy. This leads to things like due regard operations, often over international waters. Military crews might not contact civilian air traffic control. They might fly unpredictable routes, maybe even turn off their transponders for tactical reasons.
That makes sense for them, maybe, but...
But when those planes then enter or are near airspace used by commercial flights, it creates uncertainty and adds a huge burden on civilian controllers trying to keep track of everything.
Okay, so we got different rules. What else is making the system fragile?
Oh boy, the infrastructure crisis. It's bad. We're basically holding things together with metaphorical duct tape in some areas.
Just kidding.
Wish I were. There was a Government Accountability Office report, the GAO, in March 2025. It found that 37% of the FAA systems are unsustainable.
37%.
Yep. 51 out of 138 critical systems, we're talking radar, communications, the displays controllers look at, need urgent modernization.
Urgent.
And the report even mentioned, get this, reliance on floppy disks for some systems.
Floppy disks.
Oh,
Seriously. In 2025.
Seriously, it sounds unbelievable, but that's the state of some of the underlying tech managing millions of flights.
So Minot relying on visual control, that wasn't just a Minot thing.
No, it's emblematic of a broader crisis, as the analysts say. It's a symptom. And look at the FAA's big modernization plan, Next Gen. It's supposed to handle the future, like the expected 6.2% annual growth in air traffic. More planes, more complexity.
Okay, so Next Gen should fix this.
It's meant to, but it's now delayed. It was supposed to be ready around 2025. Now they're saying 2030, maybe later.
Why the delay?
The usual suspects. Funding shortfalls and bureaucratic delays. So we're falling behind while the skies get busier.
And there are real costs to not acting, right? I remember that big system outage.
The NOTAM system failure in 2023. Absolutely. Grounded flights everywhere. Cost airlines an estimated $250 million.
Yeah.
That's just the financial costs. Think about the chaos for travelers.
Right.
Plus, these old systems, they have cybersecurity vulnerabilities. There was a ransomware attack on Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. So it's not just about being old, it's about being vulnerable too.
Okay, old tech, funding issues.
Yeah.
What about the people running the system?
Another critical piece, the staffing shortfall. Air traffic controllers. The FAA is reportedly short. Thousands of controllers. Some estimates say 3,500 short.
3,500. That's a
It's
lot.
huge. And this isn't new. It's been a persistent problem, really, going back decades, some say, since the controller strike in the 80s.
And fewer controllers means?
It means the ones who are working are overloaded. More stress, more fatigue, higher risk of distraction, and unfortunately, a higher likelihood of air traffic controller error. Think about any job where you're constantly understaffed and overworked, especially one where safety is paramount. It's just not sustainable.
So let me see if I've got this right. We have outdated technology, not enough people to run it.
Yep.
And two different sets of rules, military and civilian, that don't always mesh well.
You've got it. It creates this environment where incidents like Minot aren't just possible, they're maybe even predictable. It shows a real lack of real-time coordination and what experts call low interoperability levels between the civil and military sides.
Meaning the information just doesn't flow smoothly.
Exactly. Civilian controllers can struggle to get the info they need about what military aircraft are doing, especially near borders or complex airspace. The communication chain can get really long and slow.
Leaving controllers with, what, incomplete or unreliable information?
That's the danger, making decisions based on a fuzzy picture.
Okay, this sounds pretty serious. So what's the path forward? How do we fix this?
Well, there's no single magic bullet, obviously. It needs work on multiple fronts. First, we absolutely have to bridge that divide between civil and military operations. Through deliberate action at both strategic and tactical levels. We need things like appropriate legislation, maybe joint rules and procedures for shared airspace, clear working arrangements.
Like formal agreements.
Yes. Things like letters of agreement between local airports and nearby military bases are crucial. Some places have found success by actually integrating civil and military controllers in the same facility or setting up specific dedicated coordination units, an airspace management cell or AMC, for example.
A central hub for sharing info.
Pretty much. A place where both sides can see the same picture in real time and talk directly. And then just day-to-day, tactically, controllers on both sides just need to make it standard practice to keep each other informed as much as practical about where planes are going and what they intend to do.
Sounds like basic communication, but maybe it's not happening consistently.
Proactive communication needs to be the norm, not the exception.
Okay, so better cooperation. What about the tech? The floppy disks.
Right. We absolutely have to modernize the backbone. Those FAA system upgrades aren't optional. Now, it does depend on Congress actually approving the money, but the previous administration's budget proposal for 2025 did include $12.5 billion for ATC upgrades.
That sounds like a lot.
It is, but look where it's targeted. Nearly $5 billion just for telecommunications modernization. That tells you how old that stuff is. Another $3 billion for replacing radar systems.
So the need is recognized, at least in budget proposals.
The need is definitely recognized. And it's not just the ground systems. We need the right equipment in the planes, too.
Sure.
Things like TCS, the traffic collision and avoidance system, which actively warns pilots if they're getting too close to another aircraft.
Okay.
And ADS-B automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. That's where planes constantly broadcast their precise location, speed, altitude, so everyone else can see them electronically.
That sounds essential. Is it mandatory?
It's becoming more widespread, but we need wider adoption, and crucially, we need mandatory activation of transponders, especially for military aircraft when they're operating in busy civilian airspace, unless there's an overwhelming operational need not to.
Makes sense. See and be seen electronically.
Exactly. And looking further ahead, there are advanced concepts like trajectory-based operations, or TDO, that uses data to create much more precise, optimized flight paths in real time. Safer, more efficient. The technology is there or emerging.
So invest in tech, invest in cooperation. What about the people side again? The controllers, the pilots?
Crucial. We need continued investment in people. That means improved pilot training, focused on hazard identification and response, and definitely improved air traffic control procedures. Controllers need to feel empowered, even obligated, to take a proactive approach. Meaning, if they see something they don't recognize, or they're unsure about an aircraft's intentions, they initiate coordination immediately. Don't wait. Because, as the experts say, obtaining information in advance helps planning. It prevents surprises.
Right. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And it also involves maintaining focus. Stressing the human factor, avoiding off-topic discussions during busy periods, keeping laser-focused on safety. Every single second matters in that job.
So wrapping this up, it feels like the Minot incident wasn't just bad luck, it was a symptom.
A very clear symptom, yes, of these deep, interconnected problems in the U.S. air traffic system.
Outdated tech, lack of coordination between civil and military, not enough controllers, uncertain funding.
It all adds up. It paints a picture of a system under serious strain.
And the need for action seems, well, urgent. Modernization, better coordination, proper staffing, reliable funding.
It really is urgent. The safety record in aviation is generally excellent, but it depends on these systems working flawlessly. We've relied on these, patchwork solutions for a long time. But the provocative thought is, what happens when the system just can't handle the strain anymore? With more planes, more complex military needs, when does the patchwork finally give way?
That's a really sobering question. The safety we take for granted when we fly, it hinges on getting this right. It makes you think, as someone who uses this system, what's our role in making sure the people in charge are held accountable for maintaining and upgrading this vital infrastructure? Something definitely worth considering long after this deep dive ends.